off, go ahead and let me know. Yeah, I'm sure that's an engineering review would be. Okay. Dana, would you know? She's here.
I agree with you. I think that if it seems high, it may be the engineering, something from engineering design.
And then I just wanted the board to be aware of something, if they weren't already, that if you take a look at the balance sheet for ALS,
What page is that one?
it's page 3 of the balance sheet for ALS. Is that?
Yeah.
So, this is just to be concerned with for decision making. We have a beginning balance of our fund balance for that of $1,328,000, and we're forecasting to use almost $500,000 of that this year, which puts the ending fund balance at $846. That means we're running a deficit of $500,000 this year on ALS.
I think one of them is the purchase of the ambulance that's coming in October. And I don't, without taking a little bit of time, I can't give the answers to that either, Mike, to be honest with you.
I'm just raising a red flag with you, be aware of it.
Mike, where is that at?
It's page 3 of the balance. It's page 3 of 8 of the balance sheet. It's called ALS, Advanced Life Support.
It's, you have your minutes and after the budget.
I mean, if it's a one-year anomaly, it's understood, but just want to make sure that we're aware of it. Yeah, just take a look at it and see. Page 1 of the minutes, 6C at the bottom. I was a no-vote. And then,
What was that item, Mike, that you were no voting?
6C,
6C.
bottom of page 1 of the minutes from June 21st.
6C.
And then, do we know when we're gonna do the sewer and water town hall yet, or are we still looking at it? Is that the guy from Plant Moran?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're waiting for him to come back?
Yeah, this has been going on.
Okay, thank you. I'll make a motion to approve the consent.
I got a couple of.
Oh, go ahead.
On page 2 of the check register, I'm not really sure, and I was hoping maybe that Chief Nakis might know what the sprinkler repair is, possibly for instant maintenance.
What's the question?
There's a fee of $700, a check that was written for $711 for a sprinkler repair. This vendor name is called Instant Maintenance.
It's not aware of that. Is that for the fire department?
That's my question. Anybody know what that's for, Susan?
Who's it to?
It's to, it says vendor name is Instant Maintenance.
You want to take it off? Has it been paid?
What's in the word, it's in the word checks. And it's Rhonda's, or Linda's tomorrow.
Okay. And also I have,
I'll make a suggestion. You know, we get these board packets on Wednesday afternoon, the week before.
yeah,
These questions come up, they should be addressed, or they should be asked through via email or phone call or something.
I have another, just another question, just a consideration. I started looking at the fuel charges for the, for what we pay for our petroleum products, our diesel and our gas. It just seems, I mean, I don't know what would be considered normal, but for 21 days, our bill was $3,376. I don't know if that's normal, if we're running over on our fuel, if there's any way we can cut back on. I know that the trucks use a lot of fuel and it's a long ways back and forth to the hospital. But we're looking at about $60,000 a year in fuel costs on an average.
So you want me to look into the fuel costs?
Just see if we're running on average or if that's about what it costs, if there's any
problem.
Did you? I don't have nothing else. Well, Mike, your motion, Mike?
I make a motion to accept the consent agenda as amended.
Motion by Tremblay. and
Support.
Support by Bradley. Can we get a roll call, please?
Craffing?
Yes.
I just usually do all yes.
Yeah, all in favor.
All in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we're going to move on to comments from the floor, which gives the opportunity for the residents in our community to go ahead and they can stand up to the podium and speak on items that are on our agenda. If you're here representing a group of people, we will give you more of an opportunity to speak a little bit longer, but if you're not representing a group of people on one of the agenda items, we would wish that you would keep your items or your comments to 3 minutes or less. So at this time, if there's anybody here that would like to come up to the podium, please state your name and your address. Not fast enough, Dan.
I'm old. I'm getting old.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Don Stone. I live at 170 West Gates in Washington Township, right in Washington, Bruce Township. I'm here again to emphasize the fact that the traffic is really a problem on West Gates in front of my house from Mellon all the way to the curve at Prospect and Van Dyke northbound. It is getting worse. With 20 new homes being built up on Mellon Street, and now the possibility of 20 condos being put right smack dab in the middle of this bottleneck on West Gates, I am really worried about public safety. What I am here to ask you to do is to have a traffic study done before anything more can be built. And I would like that traffic study done by the county or by who the county uses in order to give everybody a legitimate picture of what is happening here. To get out of my driveway, I have to turn around first. I have people come over my house, I have them turn around on my lawn to go out forward. You do not want to back out of my driveway. Sitting in the audience is my daughter-in-law. Her daughter was 5 years old when my son backed out of the driveway and got creamed. Fortunately, my son and her daughter, my granddaughter, were not hurt, but the woman that hit him was taken to the hospital. She was hurt badly. This is getting worse, and it's something that needs to be addressed. And I'm asking you, Bruce Township Board, maybe even to get with the Romeo Board and see what can be done to alleviate this problem. More and more traffic is coming on West Gates. People run the light, people come around that curve so fast, people coming down the hill when the light turns yellow, speed up, they're doing 50, 60 miles an hour in front of my house. You're going to put 20 condominiums possibly right in the middle of that. Those people are going to be in danger. The people that live across the street from me, I know them all well. They have small children, and they have very short front yards. They're almost right on the street. They can, if they're out there and somebody loses control or hits a car, they're on their front lawn. You need to do something. You need to do something before any more building is going on right in this little area. And I hope that you will do that. Thank you very much.
For that development.
You want to comment on that? Yeah. Dan, if you're under, you could comment on your item on the agenda for the Walker rezone?
Is that what I'm commenting right now? No.
You can, oh, okay.
Yep. Yeah. So Dan Walker, 102 South Main, Elmont, Michigan. I know it got struck from the agenda for tonight, the IAA bit. Full disclosure, I have an ownership interest in Bruce Tech Park where they were proposing to go. We had a pre-planning commission meeting with IAA that I was a part of. Some things were brought up in that meeting that I myself was not aware of, and Mike, I reached out to you after, told you myself I would have a tough time swallowing it if I were still on the planning commission. That being said, the issues that were made at the planning commission meeting, and most notably from the planning commission itself included in the agenda, are extremely, extremely concerning to me. You have an industrial corridor for a purpose, and that purpose is for industry. And I know, Mike, you made mention of the town hall that you're going to have with the sewer and the water soon. My guess is that that town hall is going to result in you somehow putting on the taxpayers of the township to cover the endless sewer debt that you've been incurring pretty much since that corridor was put in. The way that that gets fixed is by industry going where it belongs. So part of the motion that was made, there was a comment in the motion that said the volume of vehicular traffic will make it hazardous to other businesses. Seriously? I think we estimated that at 280 vehicles per day. Bruce Tech Park is 74 acres. If it were split into 7 10-acre lots, it's safe to assume each of those businesses would have roughly 100 employees each. Running 3 shifts, that's over 1,400 cars a day for something that not only is permitted there, that should be there. The other comments, that it was inconsistent with the uses surrounding it. Blue Water Trucking runs roughly 100 plus 18-wheelers in and out of there every single day. I'm not sure how that's inconsistent with things that go on in the industrial corridor. There are several businesses, I have drone footage, that have what I would consider a junkyard in behind the building. Cars that have been sitting there, machines, God knows what else, leaking into the ground that everybody was concerned about. The other concerns around safety of school buses and deterioration of the road. The original landowners of the industrial corridor paid millions of dollars in SAD funds to have those utilities dragged down the road. And now we have commercial, we have a nursing home, we have residential homes. I'm wondering if the people in Cloverfield are aware that there's 170 condos that are all rentals going across the street from them. So my recommendation to the group at this point is to possibly rezone Bruce Tech Park as RM1, because it does not seem like the board is open to developing it as it should be. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Does anybody else like to wish to make public comment?
Doug Peoples, 11820 Kading Road, just around the corner. Commenting on the proposed Gate Street rezoning at up the street here for the condos. I think you have a copy of my letter. Unfortunately, my printer quit working, so I don't have a copy of the front page, so I got to read it from my phone. Sure, if I can do that. I just had some comments on notes from the 7-5 meeting where it was approved for to come to this board. It was observed that it was the decision was made as a fear of a lawsuit was the only motivating factor to change they were actually looking for a reason to vote positive on this. And it seemed to be that they grabbed onto that fear of a lawsuit from another developer as the reason for going forward with this. There was also a possible procedure violation. They allowed the developer to make public comments about our properties without us allowing us to respond back. He had inaccurate information, and namely the fact that there's more residential property around his single family bordering his property than there is for a multifamily. It's 60 He said it was 60/40 in favor of the multifamily, when actually, if you calculate it, it's 42% for multifamily and 58% for residential single-family. And he was using that reasoning to propose his development there. Also, it seemed that the board totally ignored the development impact statement questions. They were never presented as they were in the previous meetings. And there are, including the meeting that previously denied this exact same proposal. And they didn't go through those questions, and those were the reasons they denied it previously. And just a note, the published meeting title said they were bringing forward an R1C zoning, whereas, so that's what we thought was going to happen. Then they came forward with the RM1, and it was never published in anything other than we happened to see it on some of the documents we obtained. The master plan was also completely ignored because this kind of building in this area is generally discouraged. Currently it's zoned as R1B, which is single family. And there's in that area, as previously stated, it's about 60% are single family.
About 15 seconds, Doug.
Okay, and then there's just a summary is on the next pages of why it was previously denied, and those have not changed. And just in conclusion, the piece of property is unsuitable for a type of development, and not the least of which is the conditions of the land itself. There's a natural aquifer that runs from the top of the hill by the Romeo Water Tower across Van Dyke and continues into the surface at this property in the northwest corner. It spills over quite often into our properties and the other surrounding properties around us.
Can we wrap it up, please?
Okay, and I just mentioned that the developer should contact the builder of the 3 homes in Kading and see the financial problems he had solving that water problem. I think it's inconsistent to build condos there with basements and any other kind of thing like that. There should be single family. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Hi, Anne-Marie.
Hello. My name is Anne Marie Boyce, 70170 Whitetail Lane, speaking on behalf of the 20 condo owners at Deer Park regarding the 156 Westgate's proposed rezoning. We read our specific notices into the record at the July 5th Planning Commission meeting, and I don't intend to repeat them here. Our concerns and notices to the township are importantly the same, whether or not 20 condos promised to be like those at Deer Park or 17 or 18 R1C-sized single-family homes are built on the property. Deer Park, of course, is concerned as a matter of principle about your allowing rezoning outside of the master plan and decades-long zoning plans, as well as not meeting the basic thresholds for rezoning. However, we also recognize that you are faced with a difficult decision regarding 156 Westgates due to the precedent that this board did not create. Deer Park is a 35-year-old community with a private road, a private park-like setting, and a pond with a beautifully landscaped island, which provides prize views and drives top-dollar resales. We are very well maintained and have operated to the tune of $1.5 million over the course of the last 30 years. We are conservatively and collectively worth $5.5 million and provide revenue to the township of about $40,000 annually in property taxes at pleasant rates. Outside of our sewer usage that we pay for and an EMS run a couple times a year, we place no extra burdens on the township. We sustain ourselves and have been excellent neighbors. We are relying on you to please make the best decision to preserve the integrity of what Deer Park has built and the private, quiet setting that we own and have wholly paid for in the prior decades. If you allow condominiums, we do understand the logic in that versus a large number of smaller homes. Nonetheless, we are very worried. As our elected officials, we are also imploring you to fulfill your responsibilities to properly manage the development process as it occurs, and to prioritize the protection of the property and assets of Deer Park, as well as other abutting property owners. Thank you.
Michael Kerner, 157 Westgates, and concerned with, again, the Westgates property. We have a master plan. Let's stick to it. It's there for a reason. If we do rezone for condos, what's to say another developer comes in, and if you do it for him, I feel like you're going to have to do it for everyone. And we're going to be ridden with condos like Washington Township. I don't see a problem with, if this has to go to court, make the judge decide. That way it's not on the board. That way another individual can't say, hey, you did it for him. It's been decided by a judge. And I'd like to just reiterate the traffic. I'm one of the individuals with a young son that Don talked about. The traffic is bad, and we do need to do a new traffic assessment. Thank you.
Tom, you can wait if you want till your agenda item comes. Anybody else want to make public comment?
Yes. My name is Mark Biernichenik. I live at 12919 Excalibur, and I just want to make one comment about the Gates house. Make a couple comments real quick. House was 160 years old. If you look at the maps in 1925, it was old. That land was owned by Walter Bailey. And you can look up the maps. I looked them up online. I don't know if Walter Bailey had any holding to that house, but Bailey Street is in Romeo. And if anybody else knows on this board or looked in a Romeo book, does anybody know what used to be on the corner? Almost across the street, right on the bend?
Beach Orchard.
Nope. Used to be a high-speed gas station. It was in the Romeo book. The state of Michigan shut down that gas station and closed it because of fatalities on that road. So we got to think about that as well. It's right in the Romeo book. Right at the end of the Romeo book, there's a high-speed gas station that was shut down because of traffic. So, I mean, like everybody else said, you know, it bothers me that a house is going to get torn down in a township that's 160 years old. It really does. I mean, if it was in Romeo, probably wouldn't happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You already commented.
Can I say one thing, though? It was on the second page there. It's the fact
Why don't you
that
make it real quick?
this is a two-zone increase, setting a precedent that you've never done before. Beware.
Anybody else? No? Okay, now we're going to move on. Thanks for everybody's comments. Appreciate the participation from the residents. Tricia, anything?
I'm good.
Let's move on to item, we have no hearings and reviews, so we're going to move on to unfinished business, which would be 6A was an added agenda item, which is the fire department grants. Chief, do you want to take that?
Sure. So like, get you guys up to speed on the fire department grants. You guys are all aware of that we just received a couple grants.
Should have 3 grants, right?
Thank you.
So this is our PowerCot grant that we just received. So it's on the agenda, so we can approval on it. So as you can see, we asked for $270,000. We were awarded $233,000 and change roughly. our portion of that cost of that contract was about 5%, which was around $11,000. So the total amount is $244,000 and change. The quote came in at $262,000 and change. So if we take the difference, we're looking at $18,000 in difference in the total cost of the grant and what we owe, which is an increase from the $11,657 originally. So the township or the fire department, total cost is gonna be $29,690.65. So I'm looking for approval for $18,033.12, which is the difference of the total cost of the grant and the total cost of the cots, the power cots.
Here's what I found.
I believe the $11,657.53 was already pre-budgeted. So on the next page, you can see the estimate and the cost and the breakdown of the grant.
And Chief, I know in our last meeting, Chief Whitkin had mentioned that the grant that he applied for was for the striker cots that are now outdated, that he did, I think that possibly the quote is for the new upgraded model of the cots, which is I want to say the Auto Load 2 maybe? Is that, do you have any?
I don't think there was much difference between the two, so we took the lesser of the two costs.
But
This is what Stryker quoted, which was $262,841.12.
But my question is, are we getting the most recent cot, or are we getting the last model?
Correct, we're getting the most recent cot.
Which is
The difference came between what we were awarded and what we asked for, which was bigger than what we originally thought.
I know, because we asked for the old model pricing, and that's why the new price with the new model, the latest model, is more expensive than the old model. That does reflect on the difference of, of the $11,000.
Doesn't reflect that difference at all. The difference is between what we were awarded and what the original quote was. So again, we asked for 270, they awarded us 233. So we already knew that we were gonna incur a cost of $11,000 to change. What happened when that grant was finally written and handed out, is there was a difference of $18,033. So it had nothing to do with the cots and.
Right, but it is the latest model, it's not the old.
It is the latest model. I do have Lieutenant Casper in the audience, if you want to ask him a question on that, because he was handling that.
Was he hiding somewhere? Oh, he's right there.
In the corner.
It's part of the EMS division.
You want to make comment on it all, Lieutenant Casper?
No, Steve, what he's saying is correct, so if you have any questions.
So we're falling short at this time, $18,000, $18,033.12.
Has anybody asked Rhonda about this, for this amount? The fund balance, cash count, we had 11,000 set aside, we need another 18.
Well, I think he's just putting this together.
And these are already on the way, by the way, so the PO is already done, processed.
So when do you need the money by?
Yes, sir.
I'm assuming by the time we take delivery, and right now we're anywhere from 6 months to a year out.
That's better.
How's this differ from the 21,000 we approved last month for the FEMA grant, additional funding? Is this the same grant or is this a different grant?
Different.
Answer that question, Mike.
This is a different grant, Mike?
Yeah, come on.
We have 3 grants right now.
Okay.
I'm not saying for sure, Mike, but it was for the SCBA's.
That was probably for the purchase of the SCBA's, which have already been purchased. Hopefully, we're going to receive those in about 3 months, 3 to 6 months.
And also, we have another, third grant would be, might as well just the carbon monoxide detectors.
Correct. What's the timeline? We still have a little bit of time on that. I believe what you approved last month was an additional 18 mats for $33,000. But without having that in front of me, I can't. be for
Chief,
sure.
the value of this equipment, this is all safety related for the fire department?
Correct. It's a power loading system that obviously hopefully helps with injuries, make them more comfortable for riding in the back, so it's a multitude of
I mean,
things.
if you look at this just from a higher level, 85% of this is being paid from someone other than Bruce Township.
Correct.
So,
It's a small cost to bear for what we receive.
Chief, is this part of the price include the electrical work that needs to be done in order to equip our vehicles for these power cuts?
It does not.
So that's an additional,
We don't know. We're estimating maybe approximately $4,000. We're checking into that right now. We obviously, as you guys are aware of, have one new ambulance coming, one in repair. We're checking in to make sure that the new ambulance that we're receiving, they're gonna do that in the factory. And also the one that's getting repaired right now, before it comes back, doing it in the factory. The two that we currently have, we're gonna have to outsource that. But I can't give you a definitive price on that. We're still working on quotes.
so there's a possibility we might need another 4, give or take.
Possibility. We're hoping that's not the case, because we are also selling things back.
Now, I'm on Mike's side, we're looking at something near around $500,000 with equipment, with the township's only gonna pay 15% approximately. I would be willing to make a motion to go ahead and approve for the additional $18,033.12 to bring the total up to $29,690.65, as long as Ron has got a way of figuring it out.
Support.
Support by Giorgio. Is there any other discussion?
Do you want that as part of your motion, Rhonda?
Yeah.
You want Rhonda? Okay.
If she walks out the door, and we can get you, if she walks out the door, then we can get you electrical equipment too at the same time. If there's no other discussion, can we get a roll call?
Philbrook,
Yes.
Giorgio,
Yes.
Crafty,
Yes.
Tremblay,
yes.
Kraft, yes.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brandon. Lieutenant Casper.
Glad I can help.
Let's move on. Item 7A would be the parking lot, township parking lot bids. So as you guys all know, we're in dire need of having our township parking lot either completely redone or partially redone. We decided to take a look at having it partially redone, which we did entertain a price a couple of years ago. It was out of our budget, so we did budget more money this year to hopefully have at least half of it done. It does need to have a complete tear out on it. And we are looking at putting 6 inches asphalt back in where a lot of it's 4 inches or less. So you have the proposals in front of you. It did go out to all vendors that were on there. And so I reached out to every one of those, and also an additional one, which is James P. Contracting, which did our sidewalk, Van Dyke sidewalk going to Sheena's. We gave them a deadline, which was the 11th, I think, of July, and we only got two quotes back out of the 4 that we sent out, which were from James P. Contracting and Total Asphalt, and then Peak Asphalt did send a quote in, but it was past the deadline. You just got it yesterday, as a matter of fact, so that we haven't even opened it. So. Total Asphalt came in at $126,000. James P. Contracting came in at $120,000. $120,328. They pretty much have the same breakdown as far as what we're going to do as far as workmanship.
Mike, which part of the parking lot is this?
I did give you a
Diagram
map.
on the back.
The map, Mike? Did you get a
Okay.
photo?
Are you familiar with JP Contracting, Mike?
They did our sidewalk that's going to Shane's.
Oh, okay, yeah. Hold on,
They,
they've been around for a while.
Their business is right in here behind Frontier Town. I mean, Total Asphalt's a great company too. I mean, Bob does a lot of work around town, you know, so I mean, either company, I would say would be fine. So, there are a couple other things I think we need to consider at the same time, that the concrete slab that's behind Station 1 should be replaced prior to doing the asphalt, which is not part of the quote. We have $130,000 budgeted if we go with, let's say, James P. James P's bid at $120,000 frees us up to $10,000 to possibly repair and replace that cement slab behind the building. You know what I'm talking about?
Behind
Station 1.
rear bay.
Yeah. Then we've also got some issues with possibilities of structures once they open up. We have a sinkhole in the driveway, which we can't really determine what's going on with that. They keep adding pea stone to it until we can get the driveway torn up. But I would like to make a motion. We do have $130,000 to have James P. Contracting approved to do the parking lot. The price not to exceed $10,000, that to have the concrete replaced and the storm sewer damage, the storm sewer work completed also.
Price not to exceed 10,000?
Be 100, yeah, well, that's all we got in the budget.
For the extra.
Total price of 130.
It's 120 plus 10.
As resigned.
Support.
Or by Giorgio.
So the amount in the budget is 130, Mike, is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Now, are we using ARPA funds for this, I think?
Yeah, we set aside ARPA funds for parking lot.
I thought you checked that.
No, that was
All
all
for
for
32.
Thank you.
If there's no other discussion, can we get a roll call, please?
Tremblay.
Yes.
Kraft, yes. Crappy?
Yes.
Giorgio?
Yes.
And
Yes. All right, let's move on to item 7B, which is 156 Gate Street. I think we have the developer here, Zerkoff. Did you want to come up to the podiums? Say, Tom?
Good evening, everyone. Tom Surkoff, 156 West Gates. Just got a couple comments. I have a few captions from the master plan. This property is in the central planning area, and it contains the majority of the township's commercial, industrial, mid to higher density and residential designations. The prominent residential zones in this area include R1B, residential one family, RM1, residential multifamily, and MHP, mobile home park. And this is on page 7-5 of the Bruce Township Development Plan. There's a caption here at the bottom. Vacant lots within the central planning area should be the primary location for more intensive land uses proposed for the township, since this area has the capacity to sustain some moderate to higher density developments. It's not a straight RM1 zoning. If it was, the maximum unit count would be 32. So we're 12 less than that, and I have 12 conditions that go along with that zoning. So it's a conditional zoning based on RM1, which basically gives us the setbacks that we need for the condo. So with those conditions, we're actually 12 units less than a straight RM1 zoning. Does anyone have any questions for me?
You want to go through your conditions?
Yeah, I can do that. Condition 1, the site plan will consist of 5 ranch-style attached condominiums, each containing 4 units for 20 total, or 4 ranch-style units containing 4 units each and 2 separate duplex units. So, this is a concept plan. Once we go to site plan, we might have, a couple buildings that are 4 units and then a couple of them that are separated. Now that the home is gone, there's a lot more area that we can move things around. Number 2, each building condominium will be bricked and built to the renderings here to this agreement labeled Exhibit B. Those have been a part of this for a while. Each unit a minimum of 1,400 square foot. Number 4, each unit shall contain a minimum of 2 bedrooms and an attached 2-car garage, a front porch, basement, and rear concrete patio. July 5th, basement wasn't there. We added that at the end, so just for everyone's notes there, that was the only difference that I noticed. 5, the road will be private or public and built to the standard specs required by the Department of Roads. A private road would need to be approved by the Bruce Township Planning Commission and Board of Trustees. 6, the site plan approval is contingent upon the approval of Bruce Township's engineering and fire department requirements. 7, the proposed site plan condominiums will utilize Bruce Township sanitary sewer subject to appropriate and relevant site plan approvals. Number 8 is a condition that we added for the residents if there does happen to be any issues. If there's a temporary water supply issued during the underground utility installations or dewatering, if dewatering is needed, developer shall supply drinking water to the immediate bordering properties for a maximum of 30 days or at a cost not to exceed $1,000 per affected residence. Developer agrees if necessary to administer any dewatering activities in accordance with Eagle guidelines and conform to Macomb County Department of Public Works requirements and standards. 9, the condominium project will be developed and advertised as an age-targeted 55 and older community, subject to all federal and state Michigan fair housing laws. 10, the site plan approval is contingent upon stormwater discharge solution that meets Macomb County Public Works Drain Office and Eagle regulations as applicable. 11, again, this is for kind of the community and the residents that we come up with something for them as well. Developer will preserve trees for privacy where feasible and permissible along the shared property line with Deer Park condos to the east. There will also be a landscape berm with trees on the western property line on 170 West Gate Street. The 170 West Gate Street, that easement's 50 feet. It's probably almost double this room. I don't know if it's probably 25 foot in this room, but that's a pretty big easement. Number 12, each unit or building will have an individual well and be restricted to an average of 15 gallons per minute per unit.
Thanks, Tom.
All right, thank you.
Mike Tremblay is, for any of you that don't know, he is on our planning commission. Mike Tremblay and Tom and the planning commission, they've been dealing with this same subject for 5 years now. So I'm going to turn this over to Mike. Mike's proficient in what's been going on and what they've concluded. So Mike, take it.
Yeah, so the Planning Commission again reviewed the latest application 2 weeks ago, and a motion was made to approve with some conditions attached. But this has been, the conditions have been worked and reworked and reworked, and the Planning Commission believes that this is the least intrusive option. The house sits on 5.3 acres. If the applicant did nothing, he could probably get, I'm guessing, 8 to 9 homes on there, R1B. If you look at the surrounding areas, some of the lots are, our planner even said a lot of the lots are more R1C. If the applicant were to go for R1C, he would probably get close to 16 units on that piece of property. We also looked at the latest consent judgment we had, which is down the street, Metco Timbers. His density is fairly similar to what Mr. Surikoff, but he's doing single-family homes, 20 single-family homes and 5.9 acres. So the Planning Commission, I think as a whole, looked at it that this would be less intrusive than doing single-family homes in the range of 14 to 18 homes. Generally, condos would attract a different demographic than a single family home. So the motion that was made was was to recommend approval to this board for the following reasons. The rezoning appears unlikely to unduly burden utilities and roadways in the area. The rezoning is compatible with the Deer Park condominium development to the east, and at one time was considered for an extension of the same. It appears that the development on the parcel could meet the standards of the requested district. The rezoning request is consistent with the rezoning of the property known as Deer Park, which was rezoned from R1B to R1 in 1979 with final site plan approval received in 1988. The traffic study done in 2018 reflected immaterial impact on increased traffic. The proposed conditional zoning to RM1 would be less intrusive with respect to noise and traffic than leaving it zoned as is or potentially getting something less desirable through a court settlement. The proposed conditional rezoning addresses the market need for an additional senior desirable condominium housing in the area, and the developer is formally committing to some relief to those who may have wells temporarily impacted during dewatering in a similar way that was addressed by a developer in the past. So I would make a motion that we approve this conditional rezoning as recommended by the Planning Commission for the reasons stated by the Planning Commission. Number two, I would add that if any of these conditions cannot be met by the developer, that this, the approval comes back to this board for review. And number two, I would ask that the attorney be engaged to draft the conditional zoning agreement that would have to be part of the record and be an agreement between the developer and the township with all the conditions that were stated by the developer.
Is there a motion somebody would make support?
I can help you.
Support. Giorgio supports. Can we open up for discussion, please? You don't need to go nowhere yet, Tom. You might have some questions. I know there was talk about the house, and I know it's been going on for 5 years, and I mean, I've been here a lot what's happened. I know originally the house was gonna come, you were gonna leave the house, and I think the residents around there said that they didn't wanna leave the house, and then they said they wanted the house torn down, and then they said they didn't want the house torn down. I mean, that's gone back and forth, Mike, if I'm not mistaken, a couple times with the house either staying.
It was an old condition, but if you look at the condition of the house that it is, it's not in very good shape. But I mean, so it wasn't a big concern with the Planning Commission. It's not like a home that would be in decent shape that could be preserved.
I don't agree. I've been in that house. $60,000, that house is beautiful.
But I think that he did plan on leaving the house, and then I think you guys said that you didn't.
No, nobody said that.
Another public comment, everybody said.
Nobody said that. I'm sorry for speaking out of turn, but I can't let that go.
I'm surprised at the traffic study. There hasn't been one done recently?
It was done in 2018.
It was revised in 19.
And it wasn't done well. It was only one item down at this end, down by one strip going across the road for like one day. They needed to have 2 strips, one on each end. And they need to do it during the week, when people are going to work, when school buses are going by, when trucks are going by. They didn't do that. That is a flawed traffic study.
I think that if you find out, I think that if you did a traffic study, I think that they would probably also agree that if you put 15 single-family homes in there with 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds with 2-3 kids at home running back and forth to soccer, 2-3 cars in the driveway, as compared to a similar situation where you got living in Deer Park where they got 1 car, 8 o'clock at night, that everybody's kind of inside and they don't go nowhere. I mean, I'd hate to say it, but I think the traffic would be a lot less intrusive with this elderly community.
I agree.
50 and over than it would be with single-family homes.
And when one of them get creamed and get killed out there, we'll be back here.
That can happen anywhere, so
It
there's
can
just
definitely happen there.
What I would suggest is, independent of this applicant, that Macomb County Road Commission should be made aware that area of the township, in my opinion, needs a center turn lane all the way through there.
You're right.
Because there is increased people moving into the area that are going to use that roadway, whether the development is right on the roadway or not. There's 170 homes or multifamily units that are going to go up on McKay eventually, that's going to increase traffic to that area too.
I think another reason why there's increased traffic, if you're on M53 anywhere between 4 and 6 p.m. at night,
Backs up.
it is backed up all the way to 30 Mile Road, and people are literally going off the beaten path and taking the back roads to get where they need to be. So that is a Macomb County issue that has to be addressed, no doubt.
The conditions that you have listed, were these conditions some of the conditions that were requested by the neighbors and the neighboring residents?
I was kind of acting as an intermediary between Deer Park and Tom, and Tom was showing a lot of flexibility in modifying his conditions to many of the concerns from Deer Park. That's the reason why I support it.
Was there, would you say, like a percentage of the concerns that were addressed to Deer Park? Is there a certain percentage that these conditions seem to meet? Would you say 80%, 75%?
I think we heard from the representative from Deer Park, and they understand that single-family homes would be more intrusive than the condominiums.
And I agree with, I think it was Mike that made a comment about let the judge make the decision at a certain extent, because, I mean, obviously, we're here to fight on behalf of what you guys want, but we're also here to do the right thing. And if the judge decides to go ahead and make the decision, and we did everything we could, we fought with your taxpayers' dollars, which you guys don't mind paying your taxpayers' dollars to fight on what you believe. But at the same time, I look at a couple different scenarios that are in close proximity. One of them be Heinz, which was a consent judgment, or the Menko Timbers. And then also I'm looking at Cloverfield development. No offense to anybody who lives in Cloverfield, but the densities that are there. And I think that if he does go in front of a judge, that the judgment that he may give us is not something that we may find very attractive. Right now we have the opportunity to kind of give him conditions to say as far as what we want, the plantings, the berms, and I think that we're trying to do what's best for you guys at the same time. And I think that after 5 years, after going back and forth and having public hearings and comments from the residents in the area, we're doing what we feel that would be the best thing. Traffic, on the other hand, we can't stop growth. We can, and if you have noticed that the Romeo Police Department has been sitting up there and been patrolling a little bit more, and they've been doing some traffic stops, which I haven't seen them do one yet, but they are sitting there to hopefully, I did reach out to Chief Sokonicki, and I can find out how many times that they've been out there, so you can verify it. Maybe they did write citations. But so we are working on it. We will get together with Macomb County Road Commission, but there's other areas in our community that have a lot higher impact accidents than what are there, and we're just trying to get, even tonight on our agenda, trying to get a traffic light at 32 Mile and Mound, which is they just had 2 accidents there yesterday, as a matter of fact. So a lot worse than what's going around the bends and Main Heights. I don't have any more. I said too much priorities.
The thing is, with this, you know what you're going to get.
Right.
If you want to take a chance and go to court, you may end up getting something that you don't want. And it's very likely, based on Mike giving the 2 examples, that we could end up in a place where we don't want to be, which would be worse than what's being proposed. That's the reason the Planning Commission came to the decision.
We have a planning commission for a reason, and we also hire a township planner. And those 7 members are there to do the research, the knowledge, the background, to talk to the neighbors, have the public hearing, and bring up a recommendation to the board. And if the board kind of doesn't follow the recommendation that these guys worked so hard on, and Mr. Zerkoff's worked on for the past 5 years to try to make this work, I think that we would be kind of foolish on our part. So that being said, if there's no other discussion, we have a motion by Tremblay, second by Crafty. Can we get a roll call, please?
Second by Giorgio.
Second by Giorgio.
Tremblay.
Yes.
Giorgio.
Yes.
Crafty. Yes. Kraft, no. Philbrook.
Yes. Motion passed. Tom, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Appreciate it.
For coming up. I know it's not what everybody wanted to hear. Thank you. Moving on, item 7C would be the Walker rezoning. Dan?
You can answer this question, I'm just curious.
Dan?
That's a good question.
Good evening. So we're here tonight seeking a conditional rezoning for a parcel located on M53. It's currently zoned R1 to a conditional rezoning to M1 for the purpose of a storage unit. This, when we originally came up with this idea, the thought was that this fit the area, being right on 53, being on the same side of the road as several other M1 properties, as well as several properties that are zoned R1 that are really used not as R1. Not going to be fully staffed. You know, people come in, they put their stuff there, they leave, or, you know, they come and get it, leave, and then come back. And, you know, obviously, I'm sure Mr. Tremblay will address the issues brought up at the Planning Commission meeting. As part of my presentation, since that was just a recommendation and you were all actually voting on it, I have some of my own comments to offer in on that, what you just voted on as far as the Gates rezoning there. These were the reasons in the motion given, similar density to adjacent properties. So is this. Unlikely to unduly burden utilities and roadways in the area. Neither will this, and I think the argument could be made that as it's currently zoned, it would be much less of a burden on utilities than if it were done the way that it's zoned. Compatible with Deer Park to the east. This is extremely similar to the 40,000 square foot cricket farm that sits right to the north. Could meet the standards of the required district. So could this. Conditional rezoning would be less intrusive to noise and traffic if left zoned as is. So with this. Our property, the reasons that were given. The development impact statement was not submitted. Nowhere in the application, nor when I came in to make sure that my application was complete, was there any mention of a development impact statement. So after talking with Dana, who had to go to Joe to get me the ordinance for the development impact statement, I don't even know why it would apply to something like this. It talks about traffic studies, it talks about relevance to the site plan. This is a rezoning. It could change by the time the board says what they want on the site plan drastically from what we're talking about today. We reaffirm the master plan. You just voted against it 5 minutes ago. And reaffirmations are not deep dives. They're a quick look. I was there for a few of them. The abundance of M1 available in the industrial district. Housing there is infinitely more dense than where we're proposing. There are 300 plus homes, including the memory care facility, that are in that area. So I disagree with that. The applicant has not shown the property can be developed as zoned. Neither did the one that you just approved. And quite honestly, I don't know who would want a house right on M53 where it is as busy as it is. It would be inappropriate to add storage to a single family zoning district. However, there's an SLU I could apply for a quarry, an airport, a bed and breakfast, or an engineering research facility. It would create a spot zoning and prematurely rezone 53 while a lot remains in the industrial corridor. It is already zoned M1 on that side of the road on 53. Your industrial district now has nearly 300 residential densely developed homes. So again, this is a better location for it. Getting into the tax revenue, we have several businesses operating on R1 that are providing no tax revenue to the township, very little. This provides you an opportunity to get tax revenue on a general bona fide business that you're not receiving elsewhere. I alluded to the water study and sewer study that you did earlier. That's probably what's going to happen. It's going to get passed on to every taxpayer in this township to help pay off the sewer debt because you're not filling it up with industry. The other issues pertaining to some of the other things, I'll leave at bay for now. But at the end, I think that it is a reasonable request. I think it is going to be quiet. I think that it is going to fit on that side of the road. And traffic will be minimal, lighting will be minimal. By the time the berming and the green belt is put in, I don't even think you'll know that it's there. So, thank you.
Thanks, Dan. I did notice that Jim Santilli, there's a representative from Elkhorn Estates residents, just walked in. Are you here to represent the homeowners in Elkhorn? Oh, we got two of you. Who's going to speak on behalf of Elkhorn? You both want to? This is regards to this property. Santilli just came on.
Good evening. I live backed up to the property that Dan's talking about developing. So I don't live there yet. We're just finishing the house, so the house has not been complete. What I'm concerned of is that I'm going to be looking into a parking lot when the trees lose their leaves in the fall. I talk about putting up a berm. How high of a berm can you put up to actually make that, worthwhile? I just spent a boatload of money on a house, moving out to an area where I hope is going to be resident or rural, and now we're already trying to develop M53. I guess I'd rather put something in there like homes, which I understand probably won't go because, well, you'd have to send them back off 53, or something more rural, some kind of farm market. I know something's going in there. I know something will go in there eventually. But I just passed on the way up here a storage unit with RVs, and it's just trashy looking. It's going to be an upscale one, I'm sure, but eventually you're going to have road side to side businesses along there. If you rezone one M1, you're going to have all M1, and that's my point. So thank you very much.
Could you state your name and your address for the record, please? I didn't catch it.
Pardon me?
State your name and your address.
Oh, my name is Mark Schollenberger. I live at 12295 Bugle Lake.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Jim? Did you think the meeting started at 7?
Yeah. So Jim Santilli, 75773 Elkhorn Drive. Good evening. And I just representing, I'm the president of the Elkhorn Estates Association. So our neighborhood obviously consists of 33 homes. An additional 3 homes are nearing completion. 2 of them are actually at their backyard to where the development would be. During a recent poll and also at the Elkhorn Estates Association meeting yesterday, all the residents unanimously opposed this project, meaning the storage facility. I do want to thank Mike for coming out yesterday, listening to the residents' concerns. I know you took the time out of your evening to be there. We appreciate that. I also want to thank Dan for coming out as well to speak to the residents. We truly appreciate that. Some of the residents' concerns include loss of the natural view, a major reason residents moved to Bruce Township, replaced by buildings and trailers, light and noise pollution, taking away from our current rural atmosphere. The rezone request does not conform with the Bruce Township master plan, which I think pretty much everybody on the board said that they supported during an election if we looked back at a video of your statements when you all ran. A deviation from the master plan could spark other rezone requests along M53, reduction of property values, and then self-storage facilities often attract crime. So again, the Elkhorn Estates Association urges you to vote no on this rezoning request. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. So, Dan, thanks for coming out. Appreciate it. Again, this has been in front of the Planning Commission, and obviously we got a motion by the Planning Commission, and it was a motion of 7-0 for denial. I did feel that there may have been some questionable doubt as possibly what people might have wanted to see out there. That's why I did go to the HOA meeting last night for our Elkhorn to see for myself exactly what the residents were feeling. We did kind of explain, they do have the one house that's closest to this property is 30-foot setback off the property line. And I think like Mark had mentioned that if there was single-family houses in there, they are going to set them back as far as they can from Van Dyke and create a buffer zone up by Van Dyke to shut down the traffic, and they're going to push them all the way to the back property line, so then that house could be 30 foot off the back property line, which puts these houses right on top of each other. But all the good, the bad, and the ugly was presented last night, and if that was what the homeowners decided on, I think that that's something that we need to take into consideration also. Again, this has been in front of the Planning Commission. Mike Tremblay is our liaison for the Planning Commission, so I want to turn it over to Mike to get his professional opinion. Please, Mike.
Yeah, at the Planning Commission meeting, we had a sellout crowd. This was one of the items of 3 that were interest to the public. For this particular motion, there was a unanimous decision by the Planning Commission to deny the request for the following reasons. One is a development impact statement was not submitted, which is required for any rezoning over 5 acres. Number 2, just last year, the Planning Commission and the board reaffirmed our master plan, which did not include M1 up that district. Number 3, we have an abundance of M1 available in our industrial district, and it's still undeveloped, and that's on 33 Mile Road. Number 4, it has not been shown that the property cannot be used as zoned. Number 5, it's inappropriate to add a storage facility to a single-family zoning district, which is how it's zoned today. This could create spot zoning and could also set a future precedent, which is the biggest one, for start rezoning M53 premature. If you start rezoning M53 M1, and there are people who want to rezone M53, and we've resisted that in our master plan because we're not interested in changing the character of the township at this particular time. And we still have a lot of unused M1 property in our industrial district today. So my motion would be to deny the request for rezoning based on the reasons stated by the Planning Commission.
Motion, anybody want to support?
I'll support it.
Support by Crafty. Any other discussion at all?
Why is it taking so long for 33 Mile Road to put M1 in there? I mean, that's been in existence for 20 years, I believe. And, you know what I mean? I even had the Macomb County Economic Development out there and took them for a tour, and they took down phone numbers, and they did some calls, they did some research, and no one's interested.
Well, I wouldn't say no one's interested. We have had interest. We've had some unfortunate situations that we had, for example, we had a big tier 2 company that would have been the gem of our area that left because of concerns from the mothership in Germany about spending money.
Foreign country that's afraid to spend money, and because the economy started taking a little turn a couple of years ago. I agree.
We are starting to see that development in our industrial district as of late. We've had approved a number of site plans, and I think that trend probably will continue.
I also think that, like Mr. Walker had mentioned earlier, there is a blight issue we've got out there that we're working on currently. There are some citations that have been written. Hopefully we're getting some of it cleaned up. I need to meet with the new chief as far as a follow-up on some of the issues we got down there at the same time. So I think that Dan said that we got to clean the place up. We want to bring in some nice companies and be careful what we allow in there so that we do lay the groundwork for what we wanted to see as far as the end game.
I mean, no matter what, there's something that's gonna go there eventually someday, we hope. But no matter what, they're not gonna be looking at nature all the time. There's something that's gonna go there. I mean, he sounds like he's willing to put something there, a berm or something to hide all that. Whoever comes along is gonna have to do the same thing.
I think once you open up the door to start rezoning M53, you've opened up a Pandora's box.
What would be wrong with that?
Because you're gonna change the character of Bruce Township to other areas south of us that have commercialized M53.
Right, but if
So,
you look at.
and we reaffirmed our master plan that we like the sleepy town of Bruce Township. In that 53.
Don't like it.
We have industrial districts that can be used. Why can't that place be used?
It's not being utilized.
Dan's got interest in property that the people just backed off, that maybe they could go there. I don't know. I think there's a
I mean, there's
risk if you're
35,000 cars
prematurely
now.
rezoned in 53. And I think now is premature. And the planning commission agreed, 7-7.
And to me, the planning commission seems to be very conservative and thoughtful in regards to the time that they take to review that. And because I don't have the experience to make these types of decisions, I do rely on the insight from the planning commission as well.
I believe you can still keep Bruce Township rural and turn parts of M53 into some type of area where you can attract commercial and businesses, because the township will not sustain with the taxpayers that we have now. We get more revenue from tax base off of commercial and residential, or commercial and manufacturing and industrial than we do residential. So we can still keep Bruce Township rural, but use various parts of M53 as a way to capture some of the tax dollars.
I respectfully disagree though, and so does the planning commission.
Okay, that's good.
His first reason for denying it, development impact statement. Did you say that you weren't aware that that was necessary? I mean, it's
Correct. It's
to hold that against him.
correct. It's nowhere on the application. I've looked 100 times at it. It's not on there. It wasn't brought up when I came in to submit the application. I got this on Friday, which you don't even work on Friday, and so there was nobody to call. Then it was 4th of July weekend. The meeting was the day after the 4th of July. So I was very caught off guard by that. I don't know if this is a appropriate time to speak more or whatever it may be. Mike, you mentioned they just backed out, put it there. It's an SLU. So now you have to have a site plan. Guess who's going to be showing back up here again saying they don't want to look at that? Trilogy. Okay. You guys made mention of the planning commission and the due diligence. I sat on the planning commission almost with all of the members that are currently still there. And I'll be honest, 2 of the planning commission members asked Joe Tangari, the planner, if in fact the parcel to the north was zoned R1 that had the cricket farm on it. That was in the 2-page planner's note that everybody gets for every meeting that I got, that I knew was in there. How much did people look at it? And with all due respect, Mike, and you made mention of it at the last meeting as well, that commission goes as you go. You make almost all the motions. after somebody asked if somebody was going to make a motion for that particular issue, they counted it. There was 1 minute and 10 seconds of pure silence. Looking up, looking around, this, there, wherever, before everybody finally turns and looks at you, which happened all the time. So I feel in my heart of hearts that had somebody made a motion to approve it, it may not have been unanimous, but it would have probably passed, similar to how the Gates rezoning repassed.
Thanks, Dan.
We are trying to fix that issue through education.
So along Van Dyke, I mean, if you take north of Van Dyke, I mean, we got the, on the east side, let's just take the east side north of Van Dyke. The east side is actually sold to a hospital. Yeah, a hospital actually owns that property. Just north of that, you got Toy Products, which is obviously heavy industrial or manufacturing. Just north of that, you've got Romeo Rim, which again is manufacturing, heavy industrial. Just next to that was the old L&L, which is now a chirogenics place, but I still consider it in our manufacturing district. Just north of that, you got a trucking company, 40-acre parcel of land. Then you got, north of that, you got a guy the fruit farmer across the street. Actually, he sells rocks out on the road, and I mean, it's a farm field, so he's got agricultural status. He actually owns a property directly across the street, which is the fruit farm. Just north of that, I think, is the Louis Pizza, Louis that used to own Louis Pizzeria, I think it is. That's still sitting with one modular style house on there. And I think it comes to the Walker property. And then north of that is the Cricket Farm, and then a dog kennel. Just not too far up the road, you've got a computer store, and a little bit farther south, you've got a glass shop, glass store. So this, if you look at the usage over there, I've got one modular style house amongst all these other uses on the east side of the road. Technically, it's a resident. I think that maybe Frank may have, something right. A lot of our M1 district down on 33 Mile Road has been eaten up by residential that was currently set up for our manufacturing. And the issue, Frank again is correct by saying that there's no revenue for the township to capture in a residential tax revenue. It's all in the manufacturing and industrial. A lot of our residential taxes, basically, by the time everybody gets a piece of the pie, we get nothing left over, and we're not going to sustain unless we get some industrial in our township. So we need to look at what is going on around our Van Dyke corridor, and we don't want to keep having agricultural, because if he decides to go ahead and put in another fruit stand up there or a farm market, I mean, he could have goats and sheep right up against the back fence line, and Michigan Department of Agricultural and Rural Development will tell us we got nothing to say we can do about it. So we need to try to, my point being is we need to consider possibly looking at this a little bit closer. So with that being said, there was a motion by Tremblay, a second by Crafty. Again, it was a motion of 7-0 by the recommendation of the Planning Commission. If there's no other discussion, can we get a roll call, please?
I just want to remind you, before you vote, that this was not a conditional zoning, that anything that's approved in M1 goes there. It doesn't have to be a storage facility. There were no conditions attached to the application.
Right.
There was.
And if you also approve this, be prepared to get more requests for rezoning of M1 or commercial on that 53.
We got commercial on the corner of.
But all of those.
Is there a reason the developer keeps getting to come up and speak and the residents cannot speak? Because this township does it time and time again. And listen, we're your boss. We voted you in office, and we should be able to express our opinion. You guys do this constantly. No, it's wrong, and I'm about ready to get an attorney involved. Good. You guys were out of line with what you did with the fire chief. I'm well aware of things. I'm finding a lot out. There's going to be an investigation. I'm going to bring in investigative news reporters too. You guys are out of line. How you do this crap every time. Everyone's opinion here matters. Run these meetings correctly or get out of office.
This is a public meeting, and it also is our meeting.
Okay, and we can then respond if he keeps getting to come up here. And
You
Frank,
didn't
if you don't want to listen to the residents, quit.
You didn't ask to come up and speak, Jim.
Okay, well, why do you keep letting him come up? At
I
the
didn't
planning
let him
commission,
come
I was
up.
shut down, the developer.
I did not let him come up, Jim.
Another time.
Jim, I did not let him
Okay,
come up.
well, run the meetings correctly.
I don't run the meeting.
That's enough, Jim, thank you.
I'm only seeking,
I'm just
We have a
telling you,
motion
there's
on the
gonna be
table.
legal action.
I'm only seeking clarification because at the meeting, the condition was offered. As far as I know, when it's been done in the past, that's been
Thanks.
sufficient.
Anyways, this is our meeting, this is a time when we conduct business because we cannot do this in a private setting. So we need to discuss these issues. If we do it in a private setting, what we create is an Open Meetings Act. We need to do it in a public forum where you guys have an opportunity to go ahead and see us conduct a meeting. But this is our meeting, and we need to talk back and forth, and we need to discuss it. And the reason why we are discussing it, because we want to make the right decision. We want to do what's best, and we do care about the community. We all live in the community.
So with that being said, you should probably let Mr. Santilli
I
speak
am
his
at the same
mind,
time, but I'm not going to argue with him.
making accusations that he
So
has no
that's enough.
proof of.
Oh, wait, as a board, I would suggest that we follow proper protocol.
Yeah, but just,
Don't be opening this up again.
anyways, we've got a motion.
This is a business meeting open to the public.
We have a motion with a second, and there's no other discussion. Can we get a roll call, please?
Tremblay.
Yes to deny.
Crafty.
Yes.
DeGiorgio.
No.
Philbrook.
Yes.
Kraft, no.
Motion carried for denial. Thanks for coming out, everybody. Appreciate the residents. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to item 7E, which is the HVAC meters proposal. Where we're at. Oh.
Interim fire chief.
You already.
Fire, what is it?
Was it just an intro?
Okay, so I didn't get an updated. Okay, still got the old agenda.
No, this E.
E is fire department.
Fire chief.
Yeah. There is an updated agenda. Do you see, have it? Does it go through K?
No.
Oh, you don't have the new one.
What, F then? Or the E?
E, but you already introduced him, so.
Okay, we'll move on to item 7F,
Welcome,
which is...
Mr. Interim Fire Chief.
What's it? Thank you. Item 7F, which is the fire department hiring. I think that we did receive an applicant resume from the fire chief before the meeting. Did you want to go ahead and...
I just put it in your board packet so you guys can all look at it. He's a qualified candidate. He obviously lives in the community, somewhere around almost 20 years of experience as a medic, along with fire. I would like to start the process, get it going.
Is he related to Sarah?
Yeah.
Everybody remember Sarah? She was.
Oh, yeah.
Is this the same application that we had at the last applicant?
Sorry.
All of them.
This is all new.
This is an updated application, right?
Correct, yeah. Part of one of the things that I'll talk about in communications, open communications.
This is for a full-time position?
This is for a paid-on-call position.
Paid-on-call position?
Correct. So it's something, we haven't had a medic paid-on-call in a really long time. So it's nice to get somebody.
Is that what he's applying for? Is that what's asked for? Do we have openings for full-time?
We do have openings for full-time. He is asking for part-time.
Okay, thank you.
He would actually really like to work shifts. He does have another job. Maybe, who knows, he might change his mind. Maybe he ends up going full-time.
So I think...
Basically, I just need him to finish, you just need to finish out the rest of the requirements. I'm just almost preempting it. I want you guys to look at it.
Has he been vetted already by your team?
Not yet.
Okay.
He will be. Once the application started, we wanted to get a background check on him. It's just we're another, 4 weeks out before we can get another approval. So I just wanted to come in here and bring that in there and hopefully get a motion that we can get the ball rolling, so we can continue the process. I know it's premature.
We really can't make a motion on something that hasn't gone through the protocols. I mean, you guys normally would do this.
Filled out an
screening process.
application, and we're doing a background check on him.
Right, so it's got to go through your panel first, of your officers to do the interview process and everything else before we would even make a motion to either
We could do a
approve.
contingent upon that.
I'm just looking for a contingency. And we have multiple different processes on hiring applicants.
Basically, you just want our approval contingent
For the amount of work
upon
we do.
verification of all his credentials.
Verification of all his credentials. He has all the credentials.
Have you talked to him already?
I have twice. Met with him twice already. And I believe it was yesterday and also Thursday of last week. So as you're all well aware of, I hit the ground running as you requested on Thursday. And I've already met with him twice.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve the hiring of Evan Pyle as a paid-on-call employee for the Bruce Fire Department, contingent on verification of his information and completion of any testing that's required of him.
Second.
Are you including any other vetting requirements of the fire department in that motion?
Whatever they do, I don't know how they vet them. I mean, I'm sure HR is gonna have to do their part as far as.
HR is going to probably have to buy it, or we're going to have to do background.
I just think we're out of procedure. I mean, not to say it in the wrong way, I just think that we're hiring somebody who hasn't even been interviewed.
I'm sorry, Mike, I interviewed him twice, so I don't know what procedure you're
The
referring
interview
to.
procedure where you gotta put them in front of a list of the officers,
Where did,
a panel.
Can you show me the procedures where we have all these written in stone? Because our SOGs don't say that.
Well, what is a normal hiring procedure? We haven't even talked to this guy other than looking at his application.
I didn't know
Maybe
that
some-
you needed to talk to this person, Mike.
Well, no, I mean, that's the
Fire
part about,
department needed to talk to him.
you know, one thing, chief, quit interrupting me. I'm sorry to say it, but please don't interrupt me anymore.
I'm
There's a
sorry.
procedure, we got an
I didn't think I was
application in front of us that nobody in the department has even had an opportunity. I know that there's a panel that usually the people go in front of, and I know we just had the same situation went through on the last applicant that came through here, that it wasn't done properly. You know, I'm saying is I think that this gentleman, I'm all for hiring, I'm all about hiring, but I think that there's a procedure, a proper procedure, other than us approving an application at the, where we haven't even met him. He
Approving
hasn't-
it on contingency. I didn't know that I
Contingent.
apologize right now. I'm sorry if I'm out of line.
That's all we're trying to get.
But I didn't know that all the applicants that come through the department need to be introduced to the board prior to being hired. So I apologize for that.
I'm just saying, I don't think we're doing this procedurally correct, and maybe, I don't know exactly the procedure, but I know that there's gotta be, some kind of a panel that would hire this guy before the board makes a decision. We got some kind of,
I think we all feel there's such an urgency when you find a firefighter. That's
we
why
can't make the
we're-
wrong decisions
That's why he's
either,
saying
because we may end up
contingent.
with a problem.
That's why he's saying contingent upon the.
Meeting all vetting requirements of the fire department.
The standard vetting requirements of the
You may
fire.
So basically, you're gonna interview him and do what you gotta do and all the testing, then you're gonna do background checks.
And if there, and then is the
So if
third
there's no-
step then that he's also interviewed by
Correct.
other officers,
Correct.
correct?
Correct.
So contingent upon meeting those three steps in the process, that he does meet all of those requirements and it comes back. What, Chief, is what you're asking, that we approve this so that we don't have to wait, because
Like,
that will
no
probably
wait.
likely happen all prior to the next board meeting.
Correct.
Like within a few weeks
That is correct.
versus within another month
Correct.
waiting for approval.
For approval.
Does that help to clarify? Like, to me, I just wanted to make sure I understood.
I find that this process, what we're doing today, is different, but I'm okay with it.
If you guys are okay, I mean,
I would prefer that the person was vetted too.
Prior to,
If-
but
if-
that's the
If they can get all
contingency.
this done and there's no red flags by we don't trust our fire department to do the vetting process and our HR department, we got other issues with.
his wife was a member of the fire department. I mean, he's got all the right idea, but I just don't feel that for some reason we found, I don't know, what something's that.
I think they'd like to hire him before the next board meeting, so they're looking for a contingency.
I'm
We did ask him to hit the ground running, so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I appreciate that, and I mean, we do need hires, so if that's what you guys feel comfortable, I'm fine with it. All right, so we got a motion and a second. There's no other discussion, let's go ahead. What were the contingencies again?
The vetting process.
The vetting process.
DeGiorgio.
Yes.
Kraft, yes. Tremblay.
Yes.
Philbrook.
Yes.
Crafty. Yes.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Move on to item 7G, which is the ambulances. Chief?
So, you guys have me hit the ground running. It's been a busy few days, so at this point, we're looking for approval for a new ambulance. So new Alpha approximate cost is around $330,000. It was recommended back in 2021 that we order a new Alpha to stay on schedule of keeping our fleets up to date. That cost was around $250,000 at that time. So at this time, the longer we wait, the more costly it gets, the time frame gets longer. So I'm asking for an approval of 10% down of the total cost of an ambulance at this current rate of $330,000, which would put us in the neighborhood of a $33,000 down payment to start the process, because the lead time is 3 years right now.
Does that lock in the price also?
That locks in the price, and that also allows us time to figure out how we're gonna finance it, if we finance it or if we pay it in payments, we put some capital outlays, whatever we decide to do. Because again, it's like 1,000 days right now, and for every day that we wait, it's not 30 days, but it's pretty close.
It's a 1,000-day lead time currently.
Currently.
And you pay 10% down, you pay the rest when it's delivered, or finance it at delivery time?
At delivery. At delivery. So this will keep us on schedule. We're kind of a little behind schedule, and I'll get into that on communications on the other.
Yeah, I'd like to see a forecast of where we're at with the fleet and what's the plan. I think, Lisa, you're always on that too.
I've been asking for that for the last 6 months.
So I'm looking for approval. Again,
I'll make a motion to approve $33,000 as a down payment for an ambulance to be delivered with the current lead time of 1,000 days.
Motion by Tremblay, support by DeGiorgio. I think that both myself and Chief Nagus did talk with Rhonda as far as where the money was going to come from. And she said that basically it's going to come out of the cash account for the down payment on the ambulance. One thing that she did specify that the year that the ambulance is going to be delivered, it needs to be, make sure it's in the budget for that year, so we can budget for it for the payment. We did talk about financing, I think, did you mention that too?
I did, yeah, I'm gonna definitely look at financing, at least at a minimum capital outlay. We're gonna have to put this on a budget.
Well, hopefully, by the time you get it delivered, the interest rates will be back down to some lower levels than they are today.
Right. So we're gonna look at a lot of different avenues. It's a big cost. We need it.
Okay, we got motions with support, no other discussion. We get a roll call, please.
Tremblay.
Yes.
DeGiorgio.
Yes.
Philbrook.
Yes.
Crafty.
Yes.
Crafty, yes.
On item 7H was their HVAC maintenance. So what's done this day, proposal basically is that we had a little situation inside of our vault. Where the air conditioner is there, the drain tube for the air conditioner plugged up. Since we don't go into our vault very often with our documentation or our, what do you want to call our folders that we have to keep, their backup of the water ended up being kind of extreme and ended up flooding out a lot of our important papers, I guess you could say. It would have been prevented with just a little bit of maintenance on our heating and cooling system. We did have Classic Heating and Cooling, which does a lot of our work, come out here and they did fix it, and the problem has been resolved. And he asked if he wanted him to give me a quote on having all of our HVAC systems looked at twice a year with new furnace filters and maintenance done on them. And I said, well, if you want to give us a free quote, that would be great. So he did go to all the fire stations, including Township Hall. And he's got the proposal in front of you for service them twice a year with new filters twice a year. The total cost would be $1,575 annually, and he would bill us twice a year at $787.50.
Make a motion to support this, this bid, to have our HVACs maintained.
Second.
Second motion by DeGiorgio, second by Tremblay. So he's got fall maintenance is a little bit different, you know, it seems like.
And it's a good investment because we just spent $5,000 to get those, that paperwork freeze dried.
Freeze-dried paper.
If there's no other discussion, can we get a roll call, please?
DeGiorgio.
Yes.
Tremblay.
Yes.
Kraft, yes. Crafty. Yes. Philbrook.
Yes. Okay. Moving on to item 7I. It's going to be our ZBA appointment. So I had a conversation about almost a year ago with Mike Lurchin, which is our 7th alternate in our ZBA. And Mike and his wife now currently, they go up north about 6 months out of the year, so he's not available all the time to make the ZBA times when they might need an alternate. He said he would stay on until we got a new alternate. I haven't had an opportunity to find anybody. Rick Barrett finally stepped up and said he would be interested. Did fill out an application. I think everybody's got an application in their board packet. I know it's been redacted so that the public doesn't see his personal information. Rick is here tonight. I don't know if you, did you want to have anything to say, Rick, at all to the board?
If you got any questions, I can answer them.
So I'll make a motion to go ahead and appoint Rick Barrett as the 7th alternate to the Zoning Board of Appeals, replaces Mike Lurchin for a term of 3 years. That would be a term from November of 2022, actually, and it expires in November 2025.
Rick, why don't you just give us a 1-minute explanation who you are?
Support.
Support.
Sure. Rick Barrett, 71748 Sarah Drive, Cloverfield Township there. I work for General Motors, been in the business community for 40 years. I've ran my own business in and out of there. I've been on boards. I try to stay involved in wherever I'm living to try to maintain townships or, you know, I want where I live to be a good place to stay, so that's my interest. I'm also on the board currently in Cloverfield. When we get it turned over, I'll be running again. So we've been working with the developer the whole time, as you're aware.
Yeah.
So.
Thanks, Rick. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Rick.
Got a motion support by DeGiorgio. Is there any other, no other discussion? Can we get a roll call, please?
Philbrook.
Yes.
DeGiorgio.
Yes.
Tremblay.
Yes.
Crafty.
Yes.
Kraft, yes.
Thanks, Rick. Welcome aboard. I know there is a ZBA this month. I don't know if Dana would know if you don't know now if they need an alternate, correct?
We do not this month. We have all 5 that are able to attend, but maybe next month.
All right. Thanks, Rick. I'm sure you'll do a great job.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 7J would be the foreclosed tax properties. Frank?
Yeah, so every March 1st, anybody that doesn't pay their taxes get those tax bills and the properties get turned over to the county. It's their responsibility to collect them. And there are 2 parcels. They are both located in the village of Romeo. And they still haven't paid their taxes, so the county has put out a notice saying that they're going to foreclose on them. So all it is an informational notice.
So we don't have no motion or no action on that?
No action, just informational.
Do we have any last year? Is it the first time I think I've seen this?
I don't recall if we had any last year. I think we did the year before.
So first the county notifies them they owe money, and then This is like the last step?
Yeah, they go after him for like 3 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So these are long?
Yeah, these are long, right?
All right, anybody got any questions for Frank? No. Thanks, Frank.
No.
Item 7K, which should be the 32-mile road intersection improvement. Frank, you got a video on that?
Yeah, I handed everybody a packet along with some bullet points about it. So we met, there's been some preliminary discussion going on last couple of years, I guess, between Washington Township and Macomb County Commissioner of Roads, Bruce Township, and Washington. So it's regarding the intersection of 32 and Mound. South of 32 is Mound Road, north of that is Eldred Road. And the most recent discussion was, I believe it was Friday, July 14th. Mike and I attended down to the Macomb County Commissioner of Roads. And they let us know that the cost of the project is approximately $1,050,000. It would be a cost share program where Macomb County would pay 50%, Washington Township would pay 25%, Bruce Township would pay 25%. Bruce Township will need a bond of $260,000 to pay for the project. If it is approved by the board, a 10% down payment of $26,000 would be needed, and then Macomb County of Roads will be the fiduciary applicant of the bond. That is a very dangerous intersection. If you look here, this is the map they showed us of what they want to do. So you see that's, anyway, that's the intersection. What they want to do is they want to put overflow lanes in there, left-hand turn lanes, and I believe they want to put a southern lane in there also, right?
Yeah.
Yep, and then same thing over here going eastbound on 32. The problem, that they have there is over here, this is 32 and Mound, there's that curve around Coosac Lake, and by the time they get over here, there's traffic that's backed up because people are, making a left-hand turn on Eldred, and there's always accidents around there. Or there's accidents right there in the intersection because people are trying to come out of Eldred and go eastbound, and they get clipped because they can't see traffic coming this way or here.
Do you have any statistics on traffic accidents there?
I looked up on one of the websites, I forget the name of it, but it showed that last year in 22, they didn't have 23s yet, but in 22 they had 7 accidents there alone.
2 yesterday.
Are you kidding?
Was it 2 yesterday? Yeah, there was 2 yesterday.
Yeah,
I don't know
we're
if
all
both
aware
of
of that.
them were
Yeah.
there.
What?
We had 3 accidents yesterday. I know there was one there. I believe the other one possibly might have been Fisher.
Okay. So that's what they went over over this plan with us Friday. And again, Washington's on board. They're ready to do it. That's what they told us. They got to take it to their board, I believe, next week.
Not until next month.
Or next month, yeah.
Is there going to be a left-hand turn lane as you're heading northbound to Mound to turn left onto 32 Mile Road? I've done that a couple of times, taking my kids to their friend's house, and that's like really scary, trying to make a left-hand turn lane from Mound onto 32 Mile Road
I don't
as
believe
well.
that's the intent here.
So
They are
it's
going to have
just
an
expanding
overflow lane
the
to go this way, but they're putting a light there as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the program to put a light there?
Yes, they're
Yeah,
also
oh, that'd
going
be
to put a
really
light
big.
there.
Yeah, that's the main purpose. Is
Right.
That'd be big.
Yeah, it was.
Because I know the left-hand turn there is probably, that's a very, very bad area.
The intersection alone, I think they said was it 500,000? The light is 500,000.
Right. So, but they still have to do some other studies here, because if you look over here, they might be encroaching on this property over here. And back here, they don't know that, they feel that there's enough room, but they're not 100% sure. There's enough easement in all these areas, except for right over there, maybe over here.
Right, did this evolve from Macomb County coming to us in Washington?
No, it kind of evolved a couple of years ago, I think, when residents were complaining to both us and Washington Township.
It's a bummer for those people on the southwest corner, they're gonna lose all that buffer of those trees.
Yeah.
I don't have any more questions.
It's needed.
At this point in time, I'll make a motion to go ahead and, what are we gonna try to approve right now?
Well, we make a motion, you want me to make it?
Yeah, go ahead.
We make a motion for the board to approve $26,000 down payment and for Macomb County Road Commissions to be the fiduciary applicant of a bond for $260,000.
Did we talk about,
Where it is,
For the intersection of 32 and 1.
did we talk to Ron about this one? I don't know.
I did.
What'd she say?
Yeah, she said it's, it's.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a couple bonds that are going to be paid off in a couple years.
The chief's gonna get there first with his $30,000, and then what's gonna...
That's a different fund.
Frank, would you take a suggestion to make this conditioned on approval from Macomb County and Washington Township for their piece?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, that is part of the motion, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by DeGiorgio, supported by...
I'm sorry.
Supported by Kraft.
You got it.
If we have no other discussion, I'll make motion to approve. I mean...
Should take a vote.
Take a vote.
It's not even
We're
that
voting.
late.
Frank motion, Susan seconded.
Can we get a vote, please?
Did you get it?
Roll call.
DeGiorgio.
Yes.
Kraft, yes. Tremblay.
Yes.
Crafty.
Yes.
Stover.
Yes. Okay.
Good job, you did this.
That's our agenda. We're gonna move on to communications. Item 7K, or I mean, 8, item 8, communications. Mike, you wanna start us out?
I'm good.
Susan?
Yeah,
I already had the 3 items.
I want to let everybody know that I met with the insurance agent, our insurance agent yesterday. He will be here next month to present his itemized list of, what's going to cost us. But during that meeting, I brought Steve in to meet him, because he usually sits down with the chief and goes over stuff. And apparently he never had the value attached to the repairs, recent ones and the old repairs. That was $200,000 lost this year. So adding that to it, we're going to probably end up paying $10,000 to $11,000 more this year for insurance.
What did we lose, $200,000 on?
With the initial accident and then that most recent accident, the ambulance.
How did we lose $200,000?
Well, the total, that's what, well, how much was it?
Lost value, so I can go over that when
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't it 160 or?
to do communications. I have a full packet for you.
Well, I'll let you go next for communications.
So it was 56 last year, and it's going to be probably about 67 on that. That's, I'm just giving you a heads up. He could have kind of not taken it to the underwriter, but he decided, and that's inevitable, so we might as well address it head on. So, that's all I have.
Does that include the stair stepper or something? Or?
I can go over it.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah. Go ahead, take it away.
I want to interrupt. So I put this together for you guys. This is the total cost for Alpha 4 after being in the accident. So. So what Susan is saying, after speaking with, I guess he's a broker or our main insurance purpose or person, I put this together because we needed to get it obviously to him, which is going to increase our insurance costs or liabilities. So Alpha 4, you guys are all well aware of that. It was hit couple months ago. So we started the repairs. So the cost right now currently, which this person or our insurance carrier or whatever he does was unaware of, was $143,842.58 for the repairs for the ambulance, just the ambulance itself. There was a separate policy that we had for the repair costs for some of the internals, which included the cot, stair chair, and the performance load, which is somewhere in the neighborhood of $36,000, $394.31. So total loss of $180,000, $236.89. Which was
He was unaware of what amount?
He was unaware, I believe it was a $55,000 cost that he had there. So quick math, somewhere in the neighborhood of about $125,000, $130,000 that he was unaware of. Why, I have no idea.
The insurance road.
I don't know if the claim just didn't make it there yet.
How much of this did the township have to absorb outside?
Zero, which is great, zero.
So we have this.
But it's gonna increase our cost
Our
for
premium.
insurance of roughly, how much was it, Susan?
10 to 11.
$10,000 to $11,000. So I wanted you guys to have that so you could see what's going on with that. That was one of my notes to bring you up to speed on a couple of things that I had to take care of.
When does our premium renew? Should be on like
September
September 1st, okay.
I thought the price to consider a total was $180,000.
It was, to consider the vehicle, from what I understand, was to total the complete ambulance was $180,000. These are two separate policies. One policy is to fix the ambulance itself. There's an inland policy that's covering the costs of the internals. I keep calling the internals, the cot, the brackets, the mounts, everything that we need in there. I believe there's also possibly maybe some damage to the monitor, but I haven't figured that out yet. So, Mike, I know you've asked me that question, so it's two separate claims. So
Do we know why we have two separate policies?
one covers,
I know what they cover, but why didn't one company do the whole thing or no?
I believe it's the same company, it's just two separate policies divided. Right. Inland Marine, I believe, is everything.
So the total was just based on the ambulance, not the internal?
Correct, so the total of the ambulance is $143,000 and change. So
But the total it out would have been $180,000.
Correct, I never got it over that threshold. So the good news is they already started working on it, and hopefully we're gonna get it back sometime in October or November. So
Including the internals?
the internals are a little difficult because, again, this is gonna be, we're gonna load this ambulance with the new power cots and the power systems. Because, again, we can't use what we had in there. So there may be some lag there between 6 months to a year, depending on the cot we're gonna get. Unfortunately. So we're gonna rotate, so when this alpha comes back, we're gonna take it out of a different alpha, the older system, put it into this one, because we are also expecting our new alpha in the same time frame, which we ordered about at least 2 years ago. So there's a lot going on with the alphas, the ambulances. Any more questions on that?
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you for the information.
Now she got from communications.
Okay. So that brings you up to speed for Alpha 4. That also brings you up to speed for the new Alpha. So the new Alpha, again, we ordered probably 2 years ago, at least, if not longer. It's expected in November. We know there's been delays. So just a few side notes, just so you guys know where I am at. I pretty much met with the entire department with an exception of maybe two people. Had a lot of great talks with everybody on the department. Some of you know that I'm working on updating our current website, the township's website, to try to streamline the hiring and the application process. Whether it's putting a QR code on there, having the full description on there. which goes to the link to the application, which ends up going to HR or the clerk's office, and then we get it so we can try to streamline the process. So we try recruiting. Obviously, we put it up on the board. Our new
Oh, yeah, the LED board, yeah.
our new LED board says we are hiring, so we're in the process of creating new flyers and everything and trying to get that going. We're also in a Medicare, Medicaid audit. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. So time is of the essence on that one. Our deadline on that one's August 31st. That was pretty much dropped in our lap probably about a week ago. So it looks like we're gonna meet that deadline. We should be okay on that. If we don't meet the deadline, we lose 10% of our revenue of Medicare and Medicaid. So roughly somewhere maybe in the neighborhood of $30,000 to $40,000. So that's pretty important. On a good note, we filled a void that we had on the paid-on-call side. I promoted Chris Carr to sergeant, so I didn't have time to put it on the agenda, but it's something that we'll probably do next board meeting. And that was to abide by the MAF contract. And obviously, trying to get a handle on the budget, so I can check into those things for you, Mike, and Mike, see where those discrepancies are and why the costs are going up. So that's all I have for you. Thank you.
I have a quick question for you, Chief.
Sure.
Have you been privy to the HR report that we had contracted for?
I don't think I've been privy to the whole
You
thing.
should get a copy. It kind of highlights some
I don't think the whole thing.
some relationship issues that maybe, I don't know if you were aware of it, but maybe take a look at it.
Okay.
Just for your information.
Okay. I did have
Valuable.
great talks, honestly,
Good, that's
with
great.
everybody. Probably at a minimum, at least an hour, if not longer. So it's just about everybody in the department. So that was really good. Helped me out. Again, I thank you for the opportunity.
I have to say thank you for, sincerely stepping up. Just the communication alone that you've provided to us today is refreshing to see. It's good information. And I think my only ask would be one other question I have, and it's put it on the priority, but we've talked, I know there's been conversations about it before, non-call emergencies to some of the senior facilities and what that's costing the township.
The document's already been completed.
Okay,
Yeah,
are we gonna
yeah.
get an update on that? And I know it's probably, it wasn't the first priority, but.
Been reworded by the attorney, it's in the unions.
You're talking about the cost, our
Lift assist.
exposure and costs on lift assist and the recurring calls that we keep getting to
Yes.
these facilities.
And how
Yeah.
to pretty much recapture
Recapture those funds.
those funds. Or
It is very important, and it is on my agenda, but we have been working on it.
I know.
I know Mike brought it to us probably a couple months ago, honestly, maybe a month and a
So
half
you've been
ago.
involved in that.
So there's
too.
been a
Yeah,
lot
I got it
going
called
on,
out, and I'll send it to you.
Okay, thank you.
So, we're gonna follow what's out there, because there's a lot of other communities that are doing the same thing to recoup some of those costs. For sure.
Yeah, I think it's gonna work out as more of a deterrent to keep them from calling us in the long run.
That's what we're hoping for. We're not looking to generate revenue from them.
Right.
But
And that didn't,
there
that wasn't
there needs
my
to be.
moment. There needs to be something in
something
place though,
in
because
place.
these people need help, but
Correct.
it shouldn't be their first call for non-emergency.
For sure.
Frank, what do you got?
None, still collecting tax dollars. We got till September 14th to pay our bill. That's all I got.
Lisa?
Nothing from me?
Barbecue, is it fireworks on Saturday?
It's not till, I think, the 29th, the last week, I think it's the last week in July.
Oh, next Saturday.
Yeah, not the 7th. I think I'm gonna be gone, actually.
Really?
I'll be out of town, but hey, sit on.
Park in your driveway then, is that what you're saying?
I do have one other thing. Blood drive, August 3rd, Thursday, August 3rd here in the township between 9 and 3.
I only got one item. Basically, it's, again, as we see today, the power went out. I don't know, was it 3 times today? I don't know what that was all about. Did anybody hear anything?
Well, I got a call from a couple residents talking about their internet went out. So so I'm assuming, it went out everywhere, and I guess we said it happened to their houses,
You hear anything why the power surges were happening today?
No, I know we had it go out a couple times at Station 3,
Tech City.
so we have a generator.
Over in your subdivision too?
No, not my sub, in town.
Oh, in town.
Tech City, yeah.
And needless to say, bringing up this subject, we are trying to still, we're looking at getting our generator replaced. It is outdated and it doesn't power up anything here in the township, and if you're over here, you know it's dark in here. I talked to 4 companies, Metro, I got a price from Rawhorn, got JD Power, and then there was one more that we had. But needless to say, nobody came back with a price. The only price I've got that's come back in the past year and a half is Rawhorn. And the price that they came back with for an 80 kW generator is $149,194.
So how does that work? Are we supposed to put it out for a bid? Someone should actually purchase something.
We can't even get anybody to respond to one thing, but this is, I'm not making a motion for any kind of approval because there's no, we budgeted $80,000 this year for it. But there's no, we just need it, there's no way we can afford to pay that. So we may look, going back to, we were looking at possibly paying $5,000 to $7,000 for a transfer switch, I think, at one time. It's like, well, we buy a new transfer switch and we get an upgraded generator, we have to buy another transfer switch to, go with the new generator. But, we gotta go back to that. But the generator we currently have does not power up the township. It only runs the fire station and then it only runs our backup computers, so. We may have to look into it. The problem is that the building was built into 2 or 3 different sections, kind of hodgepodge together. There's electrical panels in almost, every section of the rooms. Disconnects over in the Cascade compressor room over there for different areas in the fire station. And I think everybody looks at it as like a can of worms. It's like 1,000 amps coming into the, they're looking at it as 1,000 amps coming into the building. We got 5 200 amp panels. And 3 bays.
Parking lots be done, or started. High-tech wants to run some cable. It's cheaper to do it when it's all turned on.
Absolutely, yeah. Do you need to run anything from Station 2 to Station 3?
We probably will, because I think we need to integrate all 3 of our stations and probably.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Put a server in. When your power goes out, we lose our communications over here, regardless of us having a generator or not. So it's not really a good thing. So yeah. We're up to speed on that one.
Don't have anything else? If nobody's got anything else, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Just a quick question. On your generator, did you look at breaking it up? If you've got 5 panels and you did smaller generators that work independently of those, it might be cheaper.
It's an option. We could look at it that way.
Might be cheaper.
But we have one service coming into the building, and the disconnects are, like there's a disconnect in this maintenance room right here in the center of this room.
Yeah.
It's fed from the panel here is fed from a disconnect in the middle of the fire hall. And then there's another disconnect in the clerk's office, another panel. There's 2 panels here, one in the clerk's office. I think you guys got 2 or 3 panels over at Station 1, too. And then there's like 3 disconnects at Station. It's kind
You
of
got a mess, yeah.
It's a mess, like I said, we had 4 companies come and say, well, we don't even get a quote from one of them. And I think he quoted high because he's afraid of what,
Just a suggestion, go back and see if you could break it up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Try. Okay. Thanks, Rick. If not, I'll make motion to adjourn at 8:10.
Support.
Support by George, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everybody, for coming out. Ryan, thank you.
Thank you.